The little old ladies in Israel are a piece of work. Seriously, they will run you over on the way to the bus as soon as look at you. I once had this old lady curse me out in Hebrew because I didn't speak Russian well enough for her. Piece of work. I lived in Israel in my early 20s for a couple of years, specifically in Jerusalem. And so I got to know these ladies a lot as I was just walking on the street. And there was this one day in particular where I was having a really bad day. Like an Alexander, terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day kind of day. So I was wandering the streets of the old city, just the weight of the world on my mind. And so I just walked aimlessly. And I was surprised when I found myself at the Western Wall, because I'm not a particularly religious person. And so those of you who don't know what the Western Wall is, it's the last remaining structure of the ancient Hebrew temple. And so it's probably the most sacred place for Judaism. So as I was walking into the plaza up to the wall, on the one side were the men, and they had their long coats and their fuzzy hats, and they were praying very fervently. And as I went to go to the women's side, there were old women, conservative women sitting in chairs between me and the wall. And they were all, you know, they had the long sleeves, they had the opaque stockings, they all had their hair covered, and I had to weave through them. Me. I was younger than any of them by, I don't know, 4 decades. I was the only one in modern dress. I was the only one with my hair covered. I was the only one, clearly, who wasn't Jewish. And these women, I swear, could smell that shit from a mile away. And so as I was walking, their disapproval, their judgment, their like tisking at me was palpable. But I got through it, and I got to the wall. And I put my hand on the wall, and I put my head on my hand, and I just tried to quiet my mind. And most people, when they get to the wall, they write these little notes, and they tuck them, and they put them in the little cracks, and they're like making prayers. And I wasn't like that. I just wanted comfort and peace and quiet. So as I stood there, I have no idea how long I stood there. And all of a sudden, I was swept away. Everything that I was, all my cares, all my worries, all my self was swept away in a kaleidoscope of light and color and sound and song. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was everything good that exists in the world. Everything that was light and color and song and sound. And the only way I can describe it is I was touched by God. And when I came back to myself, I was kneeling on the ground. My hand was still on the wall, and my head was still on my hand. And my face was wet. I was crying. And I clearly had been crying for a while because of, you know, like if the state of my nose was any indication. But I also realized that I was completely surrounded by those old women. And they were supporting me, they were holding me, they were petting me, they were patting me, they were kissing me, they were cooing at me in a multitude of languages. They helped me up, they helped me to a chair, they got me some water, they got me some tissues. But they never let me alone. They continued to touch me until I was fully myself again. And as I sat there, being overwhelmed by the concept that I felt like I had been touched by God, I realized I was still being touched by your emissaries. And so, yes, Israeli women are a piece of work. And sometimes they're battle axes, but sometimes they're kalos. or Cassett's or O'Keefe's. Thank you.